Greetings, JPrime here. And this is a Sega Genesis. But not just any Sega Genesis. It is the high-definition graphics Sega Genesis. Not that that means it's actually high-definition graphics, in fact, quite the contrary. But this thing is unique in itself. Welcome to the Generational Gamer. Let's take a look. Alright. So what's unique about this one? Well, I just got it, and it was only 25 bucks. And you know what? It works perfectly. This little piece is an add-on for a 32X, so I'm going to pull that out. With it, I got Sonic 2. Again, with it. It came with a controller, but the start button sticks. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. In fact, I think I'm just going to fix it and call it a day. Plus, I have 4 or 5 3-button controllers with this thing. But it is complete. And here's the awesome thing. Look at that FCC ID number. That right there is an FCC ID. That means this does not have TMSS. In short, the TMSS is that protection that you see when you load up your Sega Genesis, any subsequent model, and it says licensed by Sega. There's very few games that will not work with it, but there are a few. That's where the benefit of this one comes from. Now, at first, I tried it and it worked, but the headphone jack did not. I literally took the entire thing apart, put it back together, and now it sounds just fine. Given the price, given that it came with that, with the game, the power supply, and it's not even a fake, it's an official one, and controller, which I'll fix separately, I thought it was a pretty good deal. All in all, I'm pretty impressed. I just tried it. I just played Sonic 2 on it. I heard rings on both sides with my speakers, which was awesome. And I even tried playing with the 32X, which again also worked fine. Given that it's a Model 1, it's got that headphone jack in the front, that's pretty important. So, just thought I'd show you. Of course, there's other models of Genesises, and I am going to give you a walkthrough on those. So this right here is my Model 2, sitting next to the Switch and my ancient Iowa stereo system. Now, the reason I like this, and I'm going to show you the specifics on this one in a second. For one thing, it's considerably smaller. And the 32X just doesn't look like... The 32X doesn't look like crap sitting on top of it. But here's the thing about these. So there's different variations of all of these Genesises. And Sega16.com has a really good setup. And I can show you some of that once I go through my stash. Now I have a non-high-def version sitting right over there in its box, which is my childhood unit. So we're going to keep that one exactly as it is. I'm not pulling that out. But I do think that the level of differences within these Sega Genesis units is absolutely phenomenal. So, without any further ado, let me separate this thing a little bit and show you the differences between these Genesises. Alright, so this is my Model 2. Now, there's two really significant differences within this unit. I'm going to show you. They all have TMSS, but let me shine a light on here. You see where the motherboard is, right over here. See how it only comes about 3/4 of the way? This is a later edition. The later editions have better sound. Now there's 2 more after this model. And the significance, they'll see little notches right over here in this board. And that supposedly has even better sound. But this one also doesn't have jail bars. Jail bars are those lines that go down the screen that make the system look like crap. So it'll be on the top and the bottom. You see little notches over there, and those are the most desirable Genesises you can buy. Moving beyond that, there's also a Majesco model. And the Majesco model is crap. But it also has the same board setup. Let's get back to my Genesis, my new one. Oh, you see my television in the back? And there's my Genesis. So, why talk about all this? The first model Genesis had the best sound. It did not have TMSS. And I'll put the full meaning of that on the screen as I edit this video. So, that being said, you want the better one. Also, there's several different revisions on the back of this unit. Let me move this back at just a hair. Alright, so here's the port that was never used. Channel selector, RF out, video out, and power. So, the model I have in that box over there does not have this. It also does not say high definition graphics, which we can all laugh at anyway. But beyond that, this port's gone, and then these stay exactly the same. That should be, I believe it's VA6, which is the last of the good Genesises for some time. After that, all these ports were shifted over to the left, and that's the VA7 model, and the sound is abysmal on it, which also carried over to the early Model 2s, which is why I was showing on my Model 2 it has a 3/4 board. They moved to a different set of sound chips, once again, which more closely resemble the original Model 1. So, I am going to supplement this with a few web pages. Again, they're from Sega16.com. I don't know them, they don't know me. Hopefully you like it. Stay tuned. Alright, so we're at Sega16.com. That's Sega-16.com. And they provide an excellent guide, a complete overview of the many Sega Genesis Mega Drive models. Now, we're only going to focus on North American hardware. So here we are looking at the Genesis Model 1 and the high definition graphics model, which is the one that you really do want. There are two different variants of this model. There's one that has the high definition graphics, but it also, when you boot it up, shows you this little screen right here. Now that shows that it's got the TMSS. I already talked about that a bit, so I'm not going to talk about it again. It has the TMSS, which places this screen upon boot up. Now, essentially what that is just that Sega licensed, just like Nintendo with their official seal of quality, Sega had their own, and this game was authorized. So there's very few that actually don't work, but there are a few. Only the very early Genesis Model 1s did not have the TMSS. So, the quick way to look at it, identify whether or not you've got a good one or a TMSS, looking at the FCC ID. Now, this one right here is one that would not have TMSS, and they are the most desirable Genesises out there. But you'll notice this one is considerably shorter. FJ8 USA Sega versus FJ846 EUSA Sega. They were nice enough to list that any Genesis Model 1 with TMSS will have a shorter FCC ID. Now, personally, I like not having it, but it really doesn't matter for the vast majority of them. So, you could have, if you have a non-TMSS, you could have VA2, 3, 4, or 5. Or if you do have it, then it's going to be VA6, just like the one I have, and I'll get to that in a minute. So they all pretty much have the same video encoder, and the quality is fairly similar on pretty much all of them. The sound is where there's a huge difference. So we're going to skip over for a second and look at the non-high def graphics model. This is the one that's in my box, and this one I've had since I was a teenager. So they're basically the same thing as the high def model with TMSS, but they don't have the high def graphics logo on the top, and as you'll notice, the original ones had the extension port, where the non-high def do not. It's actually just flat plastic right there. But all the ports are still in the exact same place because nothing really changed too much internally. So moving down here, and this is the crappy one. This is the one, this is the VA7 model, and this is the one that sucks. And the reason is mainly the sound. So if you've got this one, you either want to do a mod on it to give it better sound, or you want to find yourself another Genesis. Yeah, you want to avoid that one at all costs. So now moving down to Model 2s, there's only two major variations on this particular model Genesis. First and foremost, you've got the full motherboards like this, where the board goes all the way across and you can't see much of a difference between the vent and the motherboard. And then you come down to actually, one second. After you look at the motherboard, you can see there are variations with the cartridge slots, and that'll tell you what the differences are. But the truth of the matter, until you get to the half or three-quarter boards, you're not really seeing much of a difference. So here's the three-quarter board, and this is the one I showed you in my video. This is what I have. Now there's two major revisions of this one as well. I'm sorry, so you have two different variations of this one as well. You've got this one right here, and then if you look where the vents are, and I zoomed in about as much as it's going to go, there would be notches on the sides of these vents, or on the side of the motherboard plate in under these vents. And those are actually the most desirable, assuming they're made by Sega. Towards the end of the Genesis's lifespan, Majesco started reproducing their products, and that is not the one you want. So the VA4 made by Sega, which is model number MK1631, that's the one you want. The one by Majesco is 1451. Now, I've never seen either one of these personally. My understanding is the Majesco version does not support 32X or Sega CD. The sound is great, but you can't use any of the add-ons. So my VA3 sounds just fine. In fact, I contend that there may be some other variation that's not in here because the sound is really good, yet it does not have the cutouts. So, and then last, the final revision, complete by Majesco, was the Sega Genesis 3. And there's really nothing much to talk about with that. It's basically just a very cheap Sega Genesis. So, that being said, if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I'll be more than happy to answer anything I can. And if I don't know the answer, I will do the research and find out. And if you like what you see, please like, comment, subscribe. I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.